So if a man, you say if he young and he have too much access early, that probably can dilute his thinking. I'm willing to go that far with it. Ain't nothing better than a woman. You can't beat a woman. I don't for a man like me. A woman is what God created us uh, to
Well,
be a helpmate on earth.
what
And
I would say is let's deal with the question at hand. The question at hand is man whore. Can a man be a whore? Can a
oh
man
yes,
have so
yeah,
much sex in his life that it can also perverse him? I mean, we talk about how a woman can have so much sex that she is not capable of bonding with a man because of all the experience that she has had and how women are emotionally bonded to more than one man as they have relations throughout their lives. And at some point, having a high body count pollutes the woman emotional foundation to be able to lock in on one man.
okay, we can
So
go with the man.
I'm talking from a man that have had an exorbitant amount of sexual access. If a man doesn't have a lot of access to a woman, it's unlikely that he would really be able to deal with this level of conversation because he doesn't have that level of access to women and experience with different type of women, right?
Yeah, but I don't had that access. So
Okay.
I once was married for 20 years. So I understand where you coming at, the anger you coming at it with. Yes, can be a man whore.
Well,
It could
let me
be.
ask you this: Have you had male friends that have had an exceptional large access to women as well? And what experience have you gathered from that?
Yeah, I had friends that had large access to women. Uh, the most the ones I can speak of, uh, usually because of hurt. Um,
So it's
like a
because of
truck.
some hurt.
Yeah,
Okay.
uh,
Hurt in what sense? Trauma from being in
coming
a
from a
relationship
woman.
that didn't work out or something
Yeah,
that had happened to him while he was a child. What are you saying?
it could be both.
Well, that you know of, as opposed to
Well, I would usually
hypothetically.
say hurt from a woman.
Okay. All right. Hold that thought for a second. See, welcome to the
Hello.
conversation. Welcome to Sage Talk. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. What's your opinion about the subject and what would you be able to add to this conversation? Or are there any of the questions that you would like to speak of?
Well, oh, well, to me, you know, people often will say I have double standards about male and female promiscuity. And even though I think that both are, just as far as the morals that I have, I think both are morally wrong. But biologically, men have a lot more time. And, they don't it's just different because women are the gatekeepers, as they say, right? And
Right.
it's it's you know, I I just think both sexes should practice discipline, but I do think it is on the men to like you said, like our society has become so saturated with you know, women who do give it up so easily that men overlook like a good girl, right? Who hasn't been promiscuous, who, um, you know, and, because they look at them as boring because it's like they don't want to invest in a girl that is a good girl, even though they say they want them, their actions prove otherwise in a lot of ways that I see at least. Um,
Okay. Hold on one second on that point. You're saying that you know of men and you know of women who are considered good girls,
Hmm.
but the women don't want those good girls, what kind of girls do they want?
You mean the men? They don't. Well, they give the time and the attention to the promiscuous type of women. Um, they might want to wife them, but they don't. They, for the most part, they overlook, especially if you're talking about younger people and stuff like that. They overlook girls who could be good wives and mothers to their children. And this kind of goes back to the
And
whole
why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
why they overlook them,
Right.
because it takes more work and you have to practice delayed gratification to get to it.
Okay.
It's not that they're bad or ugly or whatever, but
Well,
there
well,
is more of an
choosing a wife for a
investment.
man, one second. Choosing a wife for a man, attractiveness has to be there as well.
Hmm.
So if the woman is not attractive to the man, then that's a different story, right? The woman must
Right.
first be attractive to the man. Okay, one
Absolutely.
second. Jay Prince, welcome to the conversation. What's going on, brother?
Thanks for
Looking
having me.
dapper.
Yeah, thank you.
Turn
Thank
your
you. I'm wearing the colors.
turn your
Um,
volume down a little bit. You're real high. You're coming in
okay.
strong.
Hold on.
You can just turn it down from the mic part on the keyboard. Go ahead, say something.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
you. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's okay.
Thank you. I'm wearing the colors and stuff. What I would say that for me, when I was having a lot of women, I think it's more of the mental connection with a female that hold on. Go to the next person right fast.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Hi, Miss Coach Eureka Love. Am I pronouncing that correctly? How are you? Welcome to the
You're
Sage
muted.
Talk.
Your mic's off.
He muted me earlier, but thank you. You can just call me Coach Love, but I put my channel up there just in case anybody wanted to find me. But please call
Okay.
me, or you can call me Love if you like.
Coach Love or Love, that's not a problem. Sure.
Awesome. So you asked big questions, but for me, they really need to be broken down into smaller parts. For instance,
Such
you know,
as.
the first question I want to ask a man is, what are your intentions? Where are you going in your life? And what is it that you are trying to build? Okay. Because if you're trying to build a nuclear family unit and that is your highest priority, then you will move differently than a man who maybe who's trying to be served in trying to build a team, so to speak. And I'll give you a difference. Um, a man who is trying to have multiple women serve him will move differently. Uh, like he might have what he calls his top woman. He might be very open with that particular woman about his intentions to bring other women in. It might even be like a sister wife kind of situation. And that might sound ridiculous, but I wasn't a part of that, but I do know of those types of situations where all the women are very aware of what is going on. The
Okay.
problem, the I'll pause.
Go ahead.
The problem is, and it gets really mixed up, is when men try to be secretive in their activity. And that's when a lot of jealousy comes in, a lot of rage comes in. You start getting your windows bust out of your car and all of this because you have not properly managed the expectations of the people that you are dealing with. No one wants to be disrespected. I'll travel back in time to where men used to have, one family on this side of town and another family on this side of town, and women kind of ignored that activity. For the record, I am not making recommendations to anybody about what they should do. I'm just simply explaining things that worked well. And when I classify what worked well is without discontent and frustration and everybody feeling respected and elevated. So that's my baseline for working well.
Okay, 1 second, Jay Prince. Let me address Ms. Love. Well, what I would say, first of all, I think that's a complete different pivot from the conversation that I was trying to have. The conversation I'm trying to have is whether or not a man can become so sexually engaged that he himself is unable to be with the woman that he says he wants for a wife, a woman that would be more of a modest woman, but his behavior is such that the woman that he most fit with would be a woman that also have a more active sexual background in her life. But yet the men would say, well, I want a woman with a very low body count. But in reality, if you look at his relationship portfolio, he's had woman after woman after woman after woman after woman, very few committed long-term relationships, just a history of knocking down women like pins on a bowling in a bowling alley. So I'm not talking about a man who wants to have multiple wives and can be open and straight with the level of the relationship that he wants from the woman and can articulate that and be that type of man to more than one woman. That's not the conversation. The conversation is, can a man become such of a whore to himself sexually that he burns out and can't really bond with a good woman because a good woman don't do anything for him. And he finds himself, even if he's in a relationship with what would be considered a good woman, he strays constantly and deal with women who have a deep sexual past with many men, what we would consider in this space women that are called 304s. So that's really the conversation I want to have. Jay Prince, you had started, but then you stepped off for a moment.
Yeah, I'm at work. That's why. Um, what I would like to say to that topic, for me, when I was dealing with a lot of women, different women, it wasn't about that I got a high sex drive. That wasn't the case for me. To be honest, it was more of the dominance. To feel, I was raised to believe that more women you get, the more man you are. So just a lot of those sexual encounters that I had with a lot of women, it was for shits and giggles to boost my self-ego, to build my confidence, make me feel like this is what a man is, and to get dominance of a woman. I done been in situations where after I did have sex with a woman, she'd want to go all day. I'm like, man, I'm tired. I was running from her. I already done achieved my goal. My goal was to put her under my belt. So I think it's different, but the ultimate, when we talk about like when I have sex from a woman, it is just something about like sex is a mental thing.
Of course.
And like I could have good sex with one woman and bad sex with the next. It's all about how much chemistry you have with a woman. But a woman, I could never get tired of a woman to the point where I want to find men attractive. And
okay,
like I couldn't, and I had a lot of sex out of my life from 18 up until now. I just slowed down within, I say, about a good 5 years ago. And but between 18 and I would say 32, I was having a lot of sex. And again, it was basically like to make me feel like I'm macho man, like yeah, but I was misled. What I did pick up was a lot of different, all of those women energies. And what it did, it affected my spirit.
In what
And
way?
in many ways, I picked up a lot of women depression. I picked up a lot of women uh, stress. Picked up good energy, women that was good, but they very emotional. And I'm finding myself like that. Uh, where why's my emotion jumping from here, jumping from there? Then when I started doing a lot of self-reflecting, I realized it comes from like all of these women. And what I've been doing lately is like, reserving myself. So I understand when people get it to a certain age and they say they want to practice celibate. At first I used to laugh at that, and I'm like, you got 4 or 5 kids, how you talking about being celibate? What? But I understand it. I had to reform, I had to rebuild my energy, my spirit. But it wasn't, again, to elaborate on that, since I had a lot of sex partners, did I get tired of a woman? It wasn't the fact that it depends on it depends on what is your motive of why you was having a lot of sex. Now, it's men out there just got to have sex. They got a high sex drive. They got to have sex. At that point, it wasn't me. Again, my point was to put a woman under my belt to make me feel dominant. I could have sex with her one time. And I've been in situations where women keep asking me for sex, and I'm like, nah, at that point, I already got it. I got what I wanted, and that was my dominance over you.
Okay, so for you, it's more like a trophy thing, right?
Yeah.
You have a count of your accomplishments, and that raise your status in the community of men.
Yes, and it made me feel like, okay, I'm a lady's choice. It made me feel, it gave me this false confidence about myself, because life, what I believe growing up, life was the achievement of a woman. When you break stuff down, when you break life down, everything we do, when we talk about success, when we talk about building our careers and stuff like that, overall, the end goal is to win a particular woman and to have a family. That's the end goal, is to achieve the best woman for you. So I just feel like a lot of stuff that us men do, is geared towards winning a woman. That's what I believed when I was growing up, until I realized, I'm like, damn, my whole life was revolving around a woman. Like, why? So,
but let's look at it from, let's say, 1 second, love. Let's look at it from, let's say, an athlete or a rapper or a famous movie star or someone who is a singer or someone who is just publicly admired for their talent. And they don't have to look for a woman to have sex. They're women that throws themselves at those men everywhere they go. Any type of woman, fat, skinny, beautiful, not so beautiful, black or otherwise, whatever your taste might be, or you can develop a new taste. So there are men who fall into a different type of category. I mean, we've heard rumors about black men who are extremely successful, that are popular singers, entertainers, comedians, and so forth, who deal with what would you call that, trans women, men that are now women in their lifestyle, but we know they're born a man. So there are men who engage in that type of behavior, and they engage in that behavior from, obviously, at one point they were dealing with nothing but women, but then it get to a point where they have so many women that they could look at a woman naked body, walk right in front of them, and there would be no physical reaction whatsoever. Eugene Steele, welcome to the conversation. Sage Talk. What do you have to add to it? Is there a question that you would like to respond to, speak of, or just in general about the topic itself? I didn't forget you, love.
Well, I can remember during my high school and college years, I hear about, guys bragging about all, the sex they have had, how many different girls they have sex with and all that. And you know, you know, women were called, whores, of course. But what was weird to me was how the fellas were called playboys or macho or what have you. And I thought, well, why so many women? I've always believed they were whores because of the fact that they're having sex so darn much, and everything. Also, this whole conversation sort of reminds me of all the talking points I've been hearing on this YouTube space about, these three or fours, women wanting the bad guys and stuff like that. But except men are, excuse me, sort of displaying this type of behavior towards women. They have sex with a lot. They don't want to do. They want to deal with the good girls. They want to deal with the 304s and things of that nature. Um, I do not think that any man or any woman who has that type of appetite all the time, wanting to have sex with other people, shouldn't even be in a relationship at all, man or woman. Okay, when you're in a relationship, uh, you only focus on that one person, and that's it. And you always have to make a sacrifice. Either the woman, okay, if a guy was really has this high appetite, one of two things must happen. Either that woman can try the things that man um, requested or fantasized about, or the man should give up on the things that fulfill his appetite. One of those two things got to happen. That's what I have.
Okay. Love. That's a very
Okay.
interesting. What's that? The Kenzie scale.
Yes, the Kinsey scale. And
Okay.
so
Talk more about
I,
that for a minute.
I will. I realized that I was going a long way about it, but this is what I was trying to. This is what I was trying to get to, which is ultimately the Kinsey scale, and it was an actual study about people's sexuality and who they choose to be attracted to. So, like, if you are a zero, that means you are purely a heterosexual person, be it a man or a woman, and that means you are only attracted to the opposite sex. But you can also be a one or two and move all the way up the scale to um, a six. And at six, that means that you are attracted to the same sex. So when you ask that question, can a man lose interest in a woman? My answer is it depends on the man and whether he is completely heterosexual, sexual being a zero, or whether he is falling somewhere along the scale. A common terms, in the 90s, early 2000s would be, is this person bisexual? You know, uh, things of that nature. So that might be something we would commonly say, but mostly people fall on a scale of sexuality. And not to be vulgar when I'm saying this, but some people enjoy porn and some people find it absolutely repulsive. Why is that? Because a man who is really liking porn and is watching another man having sex with a woman, he might be somewhere, on the 2 or 3 range because he has to enjoy that man being fully erect and having sex with that woman. Now he might not go as far as to actually have intercourse with another man or boy or anything like that, but there is some desire to see another man's genitals.
Okay. So let me ask you, in that report, was there anything that talked about the level of sex that a man would have that could push him over the edge? Because what I found that particularly for women, women that have a large amount of sex with men tend
Mm-hmm.
to at times have sex with women too.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's based off of appetite versus access, if that makes any sense. Because the reason why you might have a large amount of partners is because you really, really enjoy sex, and maybe it really doesn't matter to you who's providing um, the pleasure, so to speak. So that was, I'm not, it's like you're asking which came first, the chicken or the egg. And I would say you already had that desire. So therefore, that's what gave you the high body count, so to speak. I wouldn't say because you have a high body count, now your your desire has changed.
So that would imply that you're born that way.
Um, I would
If you say the
say
desire, if you're saying that the desire
not.
was there before anything stimulated it,
Mm-hmm,
and you went down that path because you had that desire, so at the
mm-hmm,
point of which you engaged in that behavior, it was
mm-hmm,
just natural because you had those desires long before you achieved
mm-hmm.
that sexual interplay.
The reason why I don't fully prescribe to that particular idea, because it could be something that you experience that causes you to feel that way. For instance, some people chain smoke. Okay, they weren't born desiring to smoke, but they but they smoke because when they receive the nicotine, there is a desired feeling. They get some kind of satisfaction in it. They get whether it's dopamine or what have you, and then they become addicted to that particular cycle. Okay,
But
when per-
if I may, if I may interrupt, with regard to cigarettes, cigarettes were made and laced with an addictive content within it
Mhm,
to make the smoker addictive to the drug and the nicotine. So
mhm,
that is not a true, that's a habit that you develop, but it's a
mhm,
habit that was predetermined by the maker of cigarettes to do that.
mhm,
And lawsuits have come out to show that. But I don't want
mhm.
to get down too far into this rabbit hole on this particular one discussion. I want to open it up a little bit. Yemi, welcome to the conversation, sir. Thank you for coming up on the panel. Just 1 second. Someone had asked for me to repeat the questions so I can, so the audience can know more about the overall conversation, depending on where they may have entered the discussion. The first question: how much sex can a man have that he's no good to a wife? That's question one. Two, can a man be a male 304? That the only wife that could please such a man is a female 304. Question three, at what level can a man have so much sex that he cannot bond with a good woman? Question four, does a man need a woman with the similar or same level of sexual experience as he has or that he has to really be able to express himself openly in the bedroom with his wife? Question five, are we as men, and this is more of a theoretical question for the audience, are we as men having so much sex with women we don't want to the point where the society is saturated with those types of women, then we complain that there are no good women who are wife material. So, are we responsible for making the very woman we say we don't want?